Hi, this is Liz Larson with Transform One Idea, where we're always talking about how the smallest shift can create the biggest change. And I want to talk to you about how the smallest shift, smallest idea, can change everything for you about manifesting. So for so many of us, manifesting has been so hard. Why? What's the problem? So today I'm going to explain what the problem is and how to fix it. But first, let's talk about this whole idea of law of attraction. So back in 1937, Napoleon Hill created this amazing book, Think and Grow Rich. You're probably familiar with it. I know I've read it 100 times. But it introduced this idea about how there's this thinking stuff in the universe that literally turns thoughts into matter. So our ideas are brought onto the physical plane and turned into something real that we can see, touch, feel, eat if we want to, right? So the idea in that book, for me when I first read it, felt so expansive. Like, oh, I can do this. I just have to think about the thing I want and it can turn into something. So enter the idea. What you focus on expands, right? So the whole idea seems marvelous, wonderful. However, it's not all that it's cracked up to be because what we focus on expands. Most of us don't have the ability to focus on what we want as much as we focus on the lack of having it or what we don't want. So we've been hearing Abraham Hicks talk about this for decades. I know I'm one who's listened to many Abraham Hicks only to feel at first elated and excited again that I can do it, and then to feel depressed because it doesn't happen. My mind really can understand that what I focus on expands, and if I'm focusing on what's not wanted, that I get what's not wanted. However, it still just doesn't feel awesome. Right? So then here's this whole thing. How do we focus on what's wanted? But more than that, then there's another layer that came into law of attraction. You have to be in a vibrational match to the thing you want, not the vibrational match to how much you want it. Right? I mean, how the heck does that thing work? Right? So we've got to be in a place of feeling exactly like the thing we want, and then it comes. But we're kind of not built that way, or are we? It just doesn't function that way for most of us most of the time. And there turns out there's a super simple reason why. However, the thing to understand is that most of us are really feeling, even if our minds are focused, we're feeling the lack of the thing we want. So let's put it into simple terms. You want, a relationship in your life. You're mostly missing a relationship in your life, or thinking about a relationship that you had in the past that is gone. And then at the same time, you want a new one to happen, but really you're living in the program of what you don't have, what you want but don't have yet. So that's our biggest problem. That's why manifestation is so hard, because of these programs that are kind of running around in our background. So the positive outcome only happens on those rare moments when something changes and our energy lifts up into joy, love, peace, enlightenment for sometimes fractions of a second or hours or maybe a couple of days. And we're able to think about the bliss of the thing we really would like to attract into our life. We have to somehow be that thing for it to come in. So most of us argue, how do we be it if we don't know it? How do we think about having it if we've never had that before? So that kind of creates frustration and depression and, giving up on the whole law of attraction idea until you hear the next thing that says, well, you can do it if you just do that. So most of the things that we have to do to change ourselves, to be in a state of love, joy, and peace at the places where we can attract things, take time. We have to change our habits. We have to force our thoughts into change. There's things like Qigong and yoga, which take years of practice and discipline to get there, to get what we want. They all take time. And the truth is, most of us do not have the patience to get there. We just want what we want. We want it now, right? And then we don't get it, so we're more frustrated. So lately, I've been talking a lot about the Hawkins scale. So David Hawkins wrote the book Power versus Force, plus many, many others, where he is talking about this map of consciousness that he created. And I don't know if you guys can see this map of consciousness. And you can pull it up on the internet, David R. Hawkins Map of Consciousness. And it shows the vibrations that match our actions and our emotions. So at the vibration of 20, we're vibrating at humiliation and misery. Does that sound familiar? Guilt is only a 30 vibration, and we're vibrating at blame, and we perceive evil in our lives. Apathy is 50, despair and hopelessness. How many times have you tried to create something where despair and hopelessness are what you really feel? Well, at the same time, you're trying to hold this high vibration of this magical thing that you want to come into your life. It just doesn't work. You're focusing on despair and hopelessness. So that's what comes, more and more despair and hopelessness. But I'm going to argue here that you can't help it. You feel despair when you want what you want and it's not in your life, and you feel the lack of it. That's how you feel. But that's a program. It's a program that's running. And I'll explain that in a minute about programs. So the next one is grief. You have regret and tragedy. The next one is fear. You're living in anxiety. You're frightened. Woo, how many of us live in anxiety? We're stressed out. We're frustrated. We're, afraid for the next shoe to drop every minute. When we're in that place of fear at 100, vibrating at 100, we're attracting things that vibrate at 100. More fear, more things to be afraid of, more things to be anxious about. That's the law of attraction, unfortunately, folks. Where we're vibrating, that's what we're a match to, and that's all that can be in our vicinity. Sucks, right? But it's true. Like attracts like in this situation, in our vibration. You guys understand vibration, right? I mean, it's what it is. We're vibrating. You can't, just like Abraham Hicks says, you can't turn on 104.5 and expect to hear 104.9. It just doesn't work that way. So anger's at 150, where we have hate and antagonism. Things antagonize us in our life. We find that things are coming in just to irritate the crap out of us. That's when we're vibrating at 150. Now, keep in mind, guys, I know that so many of you out there are doing so much amazing work, and you buoy up into joy, you buoy up into love, you buoy up into reason, but then on that thing that you want that doesn't come, you might be at anger. You might be just plain pissed off that it's not happening. And on that note, that thing, it's never going to come unless it's at the vibration of anger, which we don't really want to attract, but we are in that state. So we're in this constant fluctuation up and down this map of consciousness. So pride's at 175. There's scorn and demanding. Have you ever known anybody like that where they're just really demanding and scornful no matter what you do is the right thing? And they're attracting more of that to themselves. And somehow they're in your vicinity in that moment. So you're a match to them. When you're not a match to them, they just kind of fade out of your life. Courage, we're starting to buoy up here, right? 200, we're at affirmations. Think about the whole affirmation movement for attraction. I mean, we say it again and again and again, but we're saying it again and again and again with only the expectation that it's feasible, it might be possible. And then sometimes we drop down into frustration because it hasn't happened yet. So unless those affirmations are repeated with the exact joy and bliss of the thing we want to attract, we're just attracting words. We're not attracting the thing we want. So neutrality, up in 250, we're at neutral. Neutral is amazing at 250. A lot of things can happen at neutral. When we're in the neutral state of trust, satisfaction, the universe can kind of do things for us. Those things that we want those are the times when we have these little coincidences. Things just kind of float in and out, and we just watch them float in and out. We don't have so much attachment. That's actually a good place. It's right here, right in the middle of our Hawkins scale, right in the green, if you can see it. Neutrality is not a bad thing. Even though it's not the highest vibration, it is a place where things can start to move. Willingness, 310. We're optimistic and hopeful. Yeah? Good, right? Optimistic and hopeful. Not fake optimism and hopeful, like in affirmations, without the proper vibration. At 2 or 310, we're actually in that place where we feel like, yeah, stuff could happen. We don't know what's going to happen, but stuff could. It's possible. Possibility lives at 310. It's a good place to be if we can get there. Now we're going to talk a little bit about why most of us don't live there, because of these programs that are running. And sometimes willingness, optimism, and hope are not the same as having the thing you want. It's not the same as living in joy. And so sometimes willingness is a program also that runs in our system, creates a loop in our system that we never get out of. So we're always hoping that it'll happen, but it never quite does. We feel good about it, but it never quite gets there. That's the reason, because you're just in the vibration of hope and willingness, and you get more. Guess what? Hope. Well, hope's great, but you keep hoping if that's the loop that you're stuck in, right? Acceptance is at 350. So you're in a place of forgiveness and harmony. That's good. Those are good places to be. Lots of us find there's programs running in our lives, loops that run in our mind and body that are about forgiving. Here's a trick I like to use with forgiveness, because we call it the F word around here, because it really is a word that sucks when you're not in the right vibration. It's like, I'm just going to forgive somebody who did this terrible thing to me. They win, I lose again. That can be the vibration of forgiveness. So here's the trick that I like to use. I love words. I like etymology. So, the first part of forgive is pre. We foreshadow in a book. We kind of give hints. We give previews. For in our language is pre. And give, obviously, is to give. So we, around here, when we forgive, we give it back to the highest self of the person who dealt it. Before it ever came. For, pre, give. Try it. It really helps when you're trying to do forgiveness work. Give it back to them with consciousness before it ever came, and you'll find it dissolve. But staying in a state of forgiveness and harmony means that you're constantly still working in a state of, you're still working. If you're having to forgive, if you're working on things to forgive, you're in a state, that loop, that circle. It still isn't drawing in wanted all the time. It's kind of more about eliminating unwanted, which is a good thing. 350 is a good vibration, but it still can be a program. We can be in a place of constantly needing to forgive, which isn't really resourceful. We want to be in a place of joy, love, and peace, right? So 400, we're at reason, understanding, and life feels meaningful, really good. Life feels meaningful. We can understand how the universe works, how we work, how we can clear things out. We're starting to be in a place where things can happen because we have a better grasp on how they happen. Love. Have you ever heard this, love or above? The law of one, work, law of attraction is love or above. You've heard a lot of this. We're in reverence. Think about reverence. Your eyes move up. You're in a state of things holy, reverence, and benign. There's no harm in the place of love. 500. stuff starts happening in 500. Actually, things start to move into existence at 400 and above, really. At 540, we're in joy. Can you even imagine joy? So many of us have not even really experienced joy in our life, and the first time we get a taste of it, true joy, for no other reason than to be joyous, it's something most of us have never even touched upon. And when we do, when we get to have that experience, it's like nothing we've ever had in our lives, and we now realize how that thinking stuff can create the things we want. Now you can really see if you're at a state of 500. 540 is joy, serenity. You feel complete. I mean, imagine what you could create in a state of serenity and completeness. Peace is at 600. This is where bliss happens. Things feel like they're in perfect harmony, perfect cadence, perfect perfection. And enlightenment is at 700 and above, ineffable. So I like this word. Ineffable kind of means that, nothing bothers you, but you're also uneffable. People cannot F with you. They just can't. I like that. And you just be. You're in a place of being state. So that's a place where we see monks, at the highest levels. We imagine people like Jesus might have been, So let's talk about how we get up the scale, because that's what everybody really wants to know, right? First of all, let's talk about what I mean by programs. So imagine your computer. Your computer runs with full energy and full memory when it's brand new, comes out of the box new. You're the same way. When you're a baby, you run at full energy. Think about it, when you had so much energy and you could dance all day or play all day. You didn't even need food. You could just run around like a maniac and still not even want to go to bed at the end of the evening, and everything was possible. That's your brand new out of the package state, right? And it's our natural way that we are supposed to be. Have you ever known a person who's quite old but is extraordinarily happy? And how long they live and how young they seem? They are still running on a big part of their fullest energy, fullest availability to source. When you're a baby, you're a child, you have this full availability of source and understanding. Everything feels like magic, right? So imagine when your computer now comes out of the box and you start going on the net, and it'll gather, some spyware here or there. It takes a piece of the memory and a piece of the power out. As these continue to come into your computer, they start to drain and drain and drain more energy. Till pretty soon you've got the circle moving around and around, and nothing loads, nothing works right, and it's just makes you insane. You just want to throw the computer out the window because it just doesn't work anymore. And you've got to clear out these viruses. And when you do, when you clear them out, you literally find them, push the delete button, they're gone. It's not like they exist somewhere in the computer and they'll come back and they sneak back in. No, they're gone. And that loop of trying to run that program that doesn't belong there, it's gone. It doesn't live there anymore. Our system is exactly the same way. We've got a neuroelectrical system. We've got, an energy body. I mean, look, where do you get energy, right? We have an energy system. We have an auric field. Many of us know about that. It's an energy that, is the outside of our body as well. And the Heart Math Institute says healthy people, their energetic influence is 6 to 8 feet, 10 feet. And then people who are famous or cult leaders, very, very charismatic, can be 30 to 40 feet. We have a real influence around us. So that is another system. We have a psychic system. We have an inner being system. So you kind of get my drift. All of these systems work in concert to create who we are, what we have, and what we do. So these systems are no different than a computer system where they get programs. We get viruses. So I worked with a person once who a virus in their system was the first time their mom told them no. It hurt their feelings so badly that system plugged in and ran in their body for their whole adult life. And when we were able to find that system, that thing that was creating, lethargy, sadness, fear, all of these lower half of this page, and remove it, it turns out it was, the mom told him no to keep him safe. It wasn't even a negative thing. It wasn't even what we would consider a trauma of something bad happening. But in that little being, no meant you don't love me, right? So we found it and removed it. But that can take years. Removing programs can take years. Therapy, even going into a great person who has all kinds of tools, NLP, hypnosis, we still are finding individual programs and removing them, which takes time. How many of us want what we want right now, right? Okay, so that's the way the programs work. And we found with Cogno movement, if you're familiar with Cogno movement, it's a ball that we use in a cross-body movement. We have eye accessing cues, auditory cues, so it's auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. We use a low to high movement. It involves the whole system, all the systems. And we found that we can literally delete programs, like pushing delete on a virus on your computer. They can't come back. The reason is that these systems run like a calibrated loop. So a thought goes to the body, we feel it, we act on it, we feel sick, we feel, disgusted, we feel nervous, we feel upset, and then it comes back to the brain. And then again and again in the same pathway, right? Well, lots of times you can remap the brain and the system, which means that you can no longer access that feeling anymore, which is fantastic. That eliminates it, brings it way down. But we found with Cogno movement, it literally deletes the file. So you better be sure you want rid of it when we do a Cogno movement session. But here's the next piece. Here's what I want to talk about manifestation. What we discovered was that after people were leaving sessions, and especially longer seminars where they're deleting everything on their list that they want to change, that people became different. They were not the same person. That's the number one thing we hear. I feel different. I'm a different person. I'm no longer reacting to things the way I reacted before. I'm nicer. I have more energy. I'm more creative. I have better ideas. I'm a different person. That's really different than I feel different. And also, another part of it is that so many times people will leave a session of some work that they're doing, some great work, and they feel great for a short time, and then that bad feeling seeps back in. Because at that point, it's only the possibility of the deletion of that program. The program hasn't been fully deleted. And we found that with Cogno movement sessions, the program is fully deleted. It can't come back. So now you have the possibility of being raised up 1, 2, 3, or more of these levels. So we decided to do some experiments. What if we literally went in and deleted shame, deleted guilt, deleted apathy in the system as a general tool? So with Cogno movement, you find in the body, you feel where the body is noticing the equivalent vibration of shame or the equivalent vibration of guilt. Now, it does not mean that you have to relive any of those things. And all of us have little pieces of these. Think about it. When you're a little kid, and maybe you wet your pants, somebody might have made you feel shame. It lives in your system somewhere, and it is draining your energy. What if the shame from the one time that someone said you were naughty for wetting your pants lives and drains 2% of your energy, 2.5%, 3%? What if you could get 2.5% or 3% of your energy back for creating, for living, for just being awake in the afternoon? Would it be valuable to you? Well, I know personally from doing it, it's valuable to me. So let's say that you have guilt running around in your system, and you're not aware of it. You don't feel like a guilty person. You don't even know what you might have done. But maybe one time somewhere in your past, you stole a piece of candy, or you talked behind someone's back and you've always regretted it. That system is draining a percentage of your energy. Energy you can use to manifest things. If any part of your system is running around in guilt, It's not up here in peace and joy and love, that's for sure. It's drained off and bringing your overall vibration down. Down. Your vibration is down when any of these programs are running in your system. So what we discovered is that we can just go in. Now, what I have to tell you is it's not easy. It takes 2 days, but you literally, in these sessions, Cogno movement seminar sessions, you go through and you remove one at a time. Can it be done slower? Yeah, I think it can be. I think it can be done on your own. Cogno movement you can use on your own. There's solo sessions. It's a little harder when you have a practitioner working with you one-on-one and you have the energy of everyone else around you doing the same thing and clearing, raising the energy of the group. It's more fun, that's for sure. And you can't avoid it. When you have a practitioner across from you, keeping you focused on that sensation of your body, that program that's running, you can't get out of it. When you're doing it on your own, you can get out of it if you want to. So if you're going to do it on your own, you better be pretty serious and focused. But you could even choose to do one a day and see what happens. See what changes in your life. See how you are different. Are different. Don't feel different, but are different. So enlightenment, we're up here in being, in what is. That's where we want to go. So at that point, you now have the freedom of the energy to access this consciousness. So Dr. Wertheimer, in a Gaia TV interview recently, I saw him talking about energy and how it helps you access your consciousness. So he said that each of these programs actually keeps you from accessing a higher level of consciousness. And the more energy you have, the more raw power you have, you can access higher and higher energy states, higher vibratory states. Meaning, if you can get down here and eliminate the 2% of shame and the 1% of guilt and the 5% of apathy and the 6% of grief, every piece that you clear, you now have the freedom to use that energy to elevate your overall vibration. When you're vibrating in these higher levels on a regular, everyday, you wake up that way in the morning, think about what's available that you can attract. You're not going to be attracting grief or apathy or tragedy because it's not in your vicinity. You're vibrating up in here. You're taking back all the energy lost to programs that you didn't even know were running in your system, right? So this is the most amazing news. And what I want you to know about Cogno Movement System is that, each one can take between 45 seconds and 10 minutes, depending how big the program is. Think about your computer. Sometimes you have to have a professional to go in and remove a real nasty virus. And that's what we're talking about in our system. Sometimes you need a professional to go in and pluck out by the roots that program that is running. And here's what else I want to tell you. With Cogno Movement, you don't have to relive those things. You don't have to tell your practitioner or the seminar group what the thing is that pops into your mind when you're doing a session. And sometimes you don't even know. All you have to do is focus on the sensation in the body and clearing it with this really fun movement with the ball. It's a lot. It's a lot that happens all at once, but it happens like that now. Started out taking 15 minutes for each individual program that was running, and now we're down to 45 seconds. Sometimes a minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. But what we're talking about is a mini session of 45 seconds to a minute, and it clears one level. And then the next, and then the next, and then the next. So maybe the whole program takes 5 minutes. That's not hours and days and months and years of therapy. Now, therapy has its place. That's about talking things out, getting it out, sharing your truth sometimes. But if you're at the place where you're done with that, you're ready to delete the program, have it out of your life, and have energy to create on this planet the way you were meant to, then in my opinion, this Cogno movement system is the way to do it. So guys, I know I've talked a lot about a lot of things, and some of it's kind of seems complicated or confusing, but it's not. Think about your computer. Spend time thinking about how much energy each program running incorrectly drains from your computer, and just map it over onto your own system. Think about how the tiniest things, or the biggest things, the things that you know happened, the big trauma, how much energy does it drain from your life daily that you're aware of? How much thought, how much emotion, how much of your spirit is spent living in that negative thing that happened to you? Now equate it into energy. Is it taking half your gas tank? All of it? That gets expensive. It gets expensive emotionally. It gets expensive spiritually. It gets expensive karmically because we're still living in it. We haven't cleared it. These things are presented to us to clear quickly, to move through. If we're still living in it and it happened 40 years ago, what value does that have in our life? And can we, and should we, simply delete it? So that's my small hack, my small trick, my small idea that changes everything. Delete the programs. Find a way to delete the programs. And for me, I know, because I've been in the research and development of Cogno movement for 2 years now, I know that it works because it worked for me. I now have energy that I never thought I would experience in my entire life. If you had asked me even 2 months ago if the kind of energy that I'm experiencing now is possible, I would say no, because it wasn't possible in my past. But now, because of these new advancements in Cogno movement, because of the research that's being done, it's possible and it's happening for people all over the planet. So if you want to join us, come to cognomovement.com. Cogno, C-O-G-N-O, and the word movement, M-O-V-E-M-E-N-T.com, upcoming events, and find a seminar near you. Come and get your programs deleted. It's like having a full body tune-up, a full auric system tune-up, a full spirit tune-up, and then go on and live your life the way you actually want to. Okay, I'm Liz Larson with Transform One Idea and the Cogno Movement System. I hope to meet you guys in person soon and have you share with me your stories about deleting programs and getting your life back. Talk soon. Ciao.